What's up, everybody, and welcome to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora here with you inside of the headquarters of Marywood Esports. We're here at Marywood University, and I'm so happy to be here hanging out with you where sports meets that thing called life. Very excited to be here with you, and we are broadcasting and have the opportunity here to broadcast live with you on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt and on facebook.com/wakeupcalldt from inside, once again, of the Marywood Esports Headquarters here at Marywood University in Scranton, Pennsylvania. And of course, as always, happy to see you, happy to be here with you, and I am so excited to have my guest here with me back again, and that is the Director of Esports at Marywood University, Jacob Adler. Jacob, how you doing?
Doing very well. Thank you for asking. You know, waking up a bit early today. I think most of the time the teams come in around noonish, so that's usually when I'm in. But happy to be here. Happy to be on the podcast. Very excited.
Yeah, you know, and I'm so much looking forward to what we're going to be doing here today, because we are going to be celebrating esports. As you know, I've been broadcasting for over 18 years. I started my career right here on campus at Marywood University and had the opportunity to have the NCAA Division III men's and women's basketball games. Created a show called MU Courtside and continued that all the way through, and had some tremendous people come after me and work with me. Joe Forgione, as well as giving a big shout out to Brendan Murphy and Brian Johnson. So I want to thank each and every single person that involved themselves with MU Courtside. But started my career here and fell in love with sports growing up as a kid, and sports have evolved and given us what we have here today, which are esports. And I love the fact that today we're going to talk about the history of esports. What is it all about? When did it start? Some of you may not believe this, but back in 1972, there was the first tournament at Stanford, which is insane to think about that, right? A lot of people think that it happened in the 2010s. No, it happened a long time ago.
Oh, yeah.
They thought it was Super Smash Brothers. It was not. There was a big-time tournament a few years after, I think in 1980, that had 10,000 people involved. So this has been going on for decades upon decades. We're going to talk about the history of esports. We're going to jump into why Marywood University, why come here, why be a part of this team. Jacob is going to tell us exactly what it means to be a part of the group here at Marywood University for this esports and everything that's offered with that. And of course, at the culmination of the show, we are going to jump into a game ourselves.
Yep.
And we're going to see if I can hold my own against a pro. So
I would not say I'm a pro, but I've got a bit of experience, so I'll take what I can get.
yeah, so very excited to have this opportunity to do this, and I want to let everybody know and thank everybody once again for being here with us. You're tuning in live Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Typically, we started today a little bit back here around 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time, as we got everything set in the headquarters of Marywood Esports. So you're watching on youtube.com and facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT. We also share that on facebook.com /LiveNowDT. And typically you're listening worldwide as well on our live streaming radio on mixlr.com /WakeUpCallDT and on wakeupcalldt.com. You can search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on Stitcher, TuneIn, Podbean, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, MixLR, and iTunes and Apple Podcasts. All you have to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. And of course, we want to thank our Central and Upstate New York partners and beyond: Cafe Kubal, Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, PB&J's Lunchbox, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Avicoli's, Ma&Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. You can order right here in Scranton and anywhere in the country by going to maandpazpopcorn.com, and they will deliver right to your doorstep. Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Millhouse Market, Pizza Man, Honda City of Liverpool, Chick-fil-A Cicero and Chick-fil-A Clay, Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, Mother's Cupboard, and we are the proud exclusive multimedia marketing partner of the Marywood University Pacers, the Lemoyne College Dolphins, and the Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse. So, with that being said, I'm going to send it to Jacob to give us a little bit of history about the beginning, which I set up here with 1972.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the really interesting parts of it is most of the time when people think of esports, they think of these modern titles that have been polished and refined over so many decades of practice and guidance. Of course, you have the feedback from the players, you have the feedback from the industry as well, what sells. And obviously that drives the improvement, is to try and get a bigger market. But the first tournaments started with, I think it was Space Invaders, yes, at Stanford, like you said. And that's really interesting because it started at a college, and here we are now back in college running collegiate esports. Yeah. And I think that's just a really neat little way to come full circle. But really, I think what esports and the general competition surrounding video games really started from is that spirit of competition. I think in just about any discipline where you can compete and try and rack up a score against your friends, you're going to try and find a way to turn it into a bit of a game. And I think esports has done that perfectly. Even from the first games, you're trying to get to the end as fast as possible with Super Mario Bros. Figure out who could get to the princess the fastest, Space Invaders, who could survive the longest, Tetris, who could survive the longest, get the most lines cleared, what have you. So,
yeah, and to go all the way back, to that, right? Going into, like you said, Tetris, and I remember, and this makes me sound like I'm 100 years old, but I remember having my first cell phone when I was 16, and the crazy thing about it was the question, was like, well, nowadays people would say, well, what did you possibly do on this phone? Because everybody wants to do everything but actually, use it as a phone. And back when I was 16, I got the phone, and the coolest thing about it was a green screen with black typing, and you had Tetris, and that was like the claim to fame on the phone, was that you could play Tetris. And so I just remember, even before texting, I had Tetris on my phone, and you would just play it because that's what you did. And then you would try and get a high score, and then you would say something, and your mom would say, well, let me see if I can beat it. Then your dad wants to beat it. Then your best friend wants to beat it. And, Space Invaders, and looking back on some of the stuff, Arkanoid, I remember that, or Block Breaker, whatever people want to call it. That was one that we played in elementary school, where we would literally sit down and a kid would play until they died, and then another person would play until they died.
Yeah, I mean, Pac-Man, you got all these ones that you just keep going until you die, and then you got to try and survive the longest. So.
And it's crazy to look back on the history of some of this stuff, because when we look at the history, you find out a lot of things about it, and one of those things that you find out is the fact that obviously, like you said, people love competition, right? They love going up against each other. But there was a day when we didn't have the ability to track scores, and there was a company that started to do this, right? A company that came together that said, okay, this is how we're going to track scores. And so when you go to the arcade as a kid, you're going to, when you go up there and you see the initials, and you see like DMT 18,000, and then you see like JA 17,500, and this, that, and the other, that wasn't always there, which I think, that's another cool part of the history.
Yeah, and I think, if I'm remembering correctly, and I think I know exactly what you're talking about, that was the first recording, the first way to record your scores, and what that eventually turned into is a current tracker for not live streaming, speed running.
Yeah.
Which, my apologies. So speedrunning is adjacent to esports in the way that it's based on that original competition of trying to complete the game as fast as possible. And there's some really neat tricks that people wind up doing, tricks and glitches. And there's different categories. So you got the 100 meter dash, you got the 500 meter, you got marathon style running. Just like you've got all that, you've got speed running, any percent, glitchless, 100%, and it's really an interesting way to look at competitive video games adjacent to esports, and the fact that this has been around since the conception of this friendly competition among friends is just a testament to how much people love playing against their friends and bragging. It's all the bragging rights, right?
Yeah, and it's back in 1982, 3 years before I was born. Walter Day founded Twin Cities, which is the organization that records high scores in video games and publishes those results in the Guinness World Records. So if you have a Guinness World Record, or you're trying to beat one, you can thank 1982, and you can thank Walter Day and Twin Cities that put all this together. And it's really cool. And I didn't even know this. Back in 83, 84, there was a TV show called Starcade, which introduced mainstream audiences to arcade game competitions. So that there actually was a TV show that was dedicating itself to this. And then we got to see the first edition of the Nintendo World Championship, which spanned 29 cities across the United States in 1990. Mm-hmm. So Nintendo is obviously a huge part of this. We talk about Super Smash Brothers, and we talk about Mario Kart and different things and whatnot. The first edition of the Nintendo World Championship happened in 1990, in 29 cities, once again across the United States. Pretty incredible. And then in 91, the game that I love, and it's like, forget Street Fighter 1, because nobody cares about
Exactly.
it.
You got to go right to 2.
Street Fighter 2, where we look at, competitive gaming and face-to-face action instead of high scores. So we're used to playing an individual game and then play until you die, whatever your high score is, then the next person plays, and the next person, and the next person. Well, Street Fighter gave us an opportunity to go head-to-head, and Street Fighter 2, in my opinion, one of the greatest games, one of the OG games that I'll always want to play.
Absolutely, and I mean, here's my confession right here: is I'm not the best at fighting games. I've dabbled in Smash Bros. I played Brawl when it came out, but I never had a GameCube. I didn't play Melee, and I've only played a couple of other fighting games. Most of them were just browser Flash games back in the Flash game era of the early 2010s, etc.
Yeah.
And I haven't played Street Fighter. I haven't played Tekken. I haven't played any of the big names. I think the closest I got was I tried Guilty Gear.
Okay.
Was the one that I specifically remember, and that one went right over my head. So.
Well, yeah, no, Street Fighter was such a fun game, and the different characters and whatnot, and really, I mean, Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat,
Right, and those are the big names in there, and now of course we've got Smash Bros. Ultimate, and Marvel vs. Capcom, and all these other ones, but those are the OGs, as you said.
Yeah, and getting to see some of this stuff, and then Doom, which I never played Doom, but in 1993, 4-player deathmatch mode, which we looked at, that paved the way for multiplayer in games like Halo, Call of Duty, Overwatch. Obviously, Overwatch, a part of Marywood Esports. But, to go back to that, to know that Doom in 1993 paved the way for the multiplayer games that we had here, this online gaming, that was all the way back in 1993 when nobody was thinking of this.
Yep.
That's, when things, began with this opportunity to have this multiplayer online play.
And I think that was really the beginning of it. And if I'm remembering the timeline correctly, it went Doom was like the first official, one of the first first-person shooters, to my knowledge.
Yeah.
It was Doom and Wolfenstein 3D. Wolfenstein 3D, of course, being one of the original 3D shooters, and that was because it used this revolutionary tracking system at the time, which created the 3D image with the rotating boxes. But then, of course, Doom refined that and made it an actual, almost pseudo 3D space. And from there, you turned it into Quake and Half-Life giving way to the Source engine, which created Counter-Strike. And I think, Counter-Strike was one of the biggest first-person shooter titles of the early 2000s as well. And really, I think, was one of the driving forces behind esports. The first LAN parties were Counter-Strike. Obviously, you had Halo and all these other games. And even today, I mean, looking back, there's still an entire community dedicated to running Doom on as many different platforms as possible. You can see people running Doom on an Apple Watch because it requires such little storage now compared to modern games. It was started on maybe 4 megabytes of storage. So you can really put it on just about anything. Heck, I've seen it on a smart fridge or a smart toaster, which is absurd to think that's how far we've come, that our modern technology can run Doom on
a smart toaster.
Doom on a smart toaster, yep. So
and you just brought it up, but Quake 1997, 2,000 entrants competed in the Quake's Red Annihilation online tournament back in 1997, which, and I mean, to me, a lot of this stuff was kind of foreign because growing up as a kid, I was used to playing. This is what I did. And again, for folks who don't know, please don't think I'm 85 years old. I'm 36. And so when my buddy had an original Nintendo, and so he had the NES, I had the original Sega Genesis. I had Sonic, he had Super Mario. Well, we would play Mario 1, and he would be Mario and I would be Luigi. So if he didn't die for 45 minutes, I had nothing to do. So way before Smash Brothers, when we're playing these games, it was 1, then 1, then 1, then 1. And Sonic was even worse because when you had Sonic and Tails, Tails would kind of trail you. And it wasn't like I could be Sonic and Tails. But then a game came out, and I'm going to go back to the original NES, and when Nintendo came out with the game Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers, and there were other games, but Chippendale, to me, one of the best games ever. I just found it recently in Pennsylvania, and I bought it. I bought it in East Stroudsburg. And so I have Chippendale Rescue Rangers, where Jacob could be Chip, I could be Dale, and we actually had to work together to run through. And the cool thing about it, and kind of how the gameplay was, is that you didn't have that 3D like we were talking about. So if you ran to the right side of the screen and I was on the left side, you couldn't go any farther.
Exactly. Yep. And I think that's one thing that's actually continued in modern games, is you can absolutely sabotage your friends just as much as you want to cooperate with them. And I mean, that's really interesting. I didn't know that was the Chippendale Rescue Rangers was like one of the original multiplayer games. I did actually know, and this might come as a surprise to you.
Okay.
Do you remember the original Duck Hunt where you had the little light gun?
Yeah.
So if you had the light gun and you plugged in, and you had that plugged in, and you plugged in a second controller, player 2 could control the ducks.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
So-
actually, no, I think I do remember that because we did it before, and yeah, it made it awesome.
It's really niche, and I don't know if a lot of people know about that. That's like one of those things that you see scrolling through your feed, like, did you know that you can actually do this? And you're like, oh my god, like the realization hits, and it's like, wow, I could have done that. I could have had so much more fun, blasting my friends as ducks out of the sky, but...
Yeah, and it is. I mean, to see those multiplayers back with the original Nintendo, and then obviously for Sega, I had Street Fighter, and then you could play X-Men and whatnot. I thought this was cool, and this was not a multiplayer thing. It was just an interesting thing. Is that the original Jurassic Park game? You could either be one of the humans, or you could be a Velociraptor. And that was fun, except for the fact that Velociraptor was huge, and you'd always get to a part where you were trying to escape, and I couldn't duck enough to get out of it. There was always things that would, like, stop you. And I don't know if you ever played this game, but the dolphin game Echo,
Sounds familiar.
I would get to this one open water part of Echo, and I could never figure out where I was supposed to go from there.
Yeah.
And it would drive me insane, and I'd play it for hours.
And that's when the first cheat codes came out, right? The first little guidebooks, because you'd hop on and you'd call your friends, and your friends would be like, hey, my cousin heard from this guy in Denver that he met on like a school trip that the way to beat this level is X, Y, and Z. You have to keep swimming one way or the other, right? And that gave way to people being able to share their secrets of it was these not unspoken rules, but I think one of the biggest kind of unspoken rules was with GoldenEye, where there was this big secret, this big scandal, where essentially in GoldenEye what you could do is you could put a dot like on the center of your screen, and what that would do is that would help you aim, because there's no, like, if you're running, there's no like dot, or there's no like aiming reticle. So what you could do, take a piece of tape, put it on your screen, put a dot right in the center, and it was like a rudimentary crosshair, because the center of the screen never moved. So it was very unique, and that's one of those little tricks that was almost unspoken, but like probably thousands of different people discovered it almost simultaneously. Yeah. Like alongside each other throughout their own experiences. And so it's really the collaboration and realizing, hey, everyone's kind of doing the same thing. This is an actual like trick to doing well at the game that kind of encouraged that collaboration and the growth of the industry and competitive.
Yeah, and I remember GoldenEye. If you had the golden gun, that was it. By the way, the gun was green. For everybody that wonders what color it was, it was very green.
It's like, what color is George Washington's white horse? Except the answer is actually unbelievable.
Yeah, and that's. But I remember playing the game, and I remember what I would do is if I got the golden gun, I would just hide. And I'd just wait for someone to find me, and they'd open the door and I'd shoot them. But like you said, having that the middle of the screen would never change, so that you could put a dot in the middle of your screen, because you missed all the time. And you're like, I'm shooting right at them, how am I not hitting them, which is crazy. But then we jumped to the 2000s, and we had televised esports took place across South Korea, Germany, France, the United Kingdom, and the United States. Just what you could say about that. When we jumped into the 21st century, we jumped in really full body and had all of these countries televising, not just having esports, but actually televising them. And I remember, if you stay up late enough, I think it was on Friday nights, I think it was the USA Network, or TBS, one of those two, would televise esports, and you could just literally watch a team play, and they would just have a team in, another team come play against them. They would be, screens here to screens there, facing each other, playing the game, and then if that team lost, they'd get up and another team would come in, and it would just be like a couple hours of watching a tournament.
Yeah, and I think that's really cool, and I think definitely, the turn of the century, early 2000s, once people realized that Y2K wasn't going to wipe us out, people really started leaning fully on computers and the internet, and from there, I mean, we can see exactly where it went. The fact that we have, this broadcast, this wonderful broadcast that you've got set up, and broadcasting to multiple different platforms live, is just a testament to that. And I think one of the biggest things that spurs on the competitive gaming industry is the capabilities.
Yeah.
The saying "build it and they will come." I used that multiple times to talk about getting students interested and invested in esports, but also getting people in general invested and interested in all the ways that they can play against their friends. Is, once we have this network set up where we can talk to people around the world any time of day, any time of night, people are going to use it. So
yeah, and I want to go to, there was something, and you can maybe speak to this better than me, Jacob. 2004, the iconic Evo Moment 37.
Oh yes, that's Justin V. Daigo. Yep.
Yeah, a comeback that involved 15 consecutive hits with 1 pixel of vitality of health, and Street Fighter 3 Third Strike took place at the Evolution Championship Series in 2004. Can you tell me exactly what that is?
So, and now this is a very niche one. I've seen it a number of times. I think it's one of the most viewed fighting game clips ever. And so the match was between Justin and Daigo. It's, everyone's just like, oh, Justin v. Daigo. I don't know the players' names, unfortunately, off the top of my head. But essentially what it was is within that fighting game, I think it was, what did you say it was? It was
Street Fighter 3.
Street Fighter, yes. So you had the parry option, which was a block to any standard move, and that's one option that every character has because you have to have that in every fighting game. So you have the block button, and what blocking does is it reduces the amount of damage, but it doesn't zero it out, and that's the issue. Is essentially you will still take damage through your blocking no matter what.
Yeah.
However, there was an exploit discovered where if you block while moving forward, it's that motion gives you like a frame or two of invulnerability, and so that's parrying instead. I think, if I'm remembering this correctly, it's a frame perfect. You have to be moving forward very carefully, and it makes you invulnerable. So instead of taking reduced damage very barely, it takes no damage. So if you look at the match, there was a sliver, like a tiny, tiny sliver, maybe like probably 4 or 5 pixels wide of health on the top of the health bar. And you just see this beautiful combo from one of the players executing the full combo that they've earned from charging their meter over time. And every single one, it's high kick, mid kick, low kick, high kick, mid kick, low kick, high kick, jump kick, or something along those lines. And every single one was parried, taking 0 damage. So that's like 15 consecutive perfectly shielded, perfectly blocked, nullified moves.
Yeah.
And then he immediately turns it around, combos it back, and takes a match. And it is ubiquitous not only because of the crowd reaction, but also to show just what gamers are capable of when you're dedicated enough, when you have the facilities to learn and grow, and when you've got thousands of screaming fans to cheer you on. So
it also shows that it takes incredible skill. We talk about how can you call gaming a sport? Well, sports take practice. Sports take skill. Sports take outsmarting somebody else. Sports take having that the strong mentality. So when you really look at esports and you look at sports in general, I played basketball all my life. What's the difference between basketball and esports? Well, you need skill to play both. You need to be more intelligent than your opponent in a lot of ways to outsmart them in different things. You have to parry, essentially, right? You have to be able to know what's coming and how to react to it. And you have to practice and develop your skills over time. That incredible move that was made back in 2004, it was all about skill And it was about knowing the game, understanding the game, knowing how to exploit different things, and having the trust in yourself, the capability, the practice to enact that skill and to do that. I mean, in all honesty, that is sports.
Yep.
You got it. You studied it. You understood it. You practiced it. You implemented it. You won.
Absolutely.
That's a sport.
100%. And I think that's one of the things that people really tend to overlook in esports, or people have overlooked it in the past, is that esports is not a traditional sport because you don't have the level of physicality that you do with these other traditional sports. Football, obviously, you've got people crashing into each other, lifting 250-pound weights every day just to make sure that you stay in shape. With esports, I've compared it to chess, I believe, on the last time I was on the show. It's a furious mental game of playing better than your opponent and also expecting what your opponent is going to do. At the highest level of gameplay, in theory, two players should be indistinguishable from each other in terms of skill set. Meaning, when you put two players up against each other, they should be if they're good enough at their specific task, they should be able to do it in the same way with the same amount of skill. And from there, it's about the mind games. It's about foreseeing what your opponent is going to do, and it's about keeping up with the information because these games put out thousands of updates every day, little bits here and there, cleaning up code from 14 updates prior that may have created a minor bug or a glitch and things like that, and just using it to your advantage, staying on top of the game, and really just working through it as much as possible to make sure that you are staying on top of the game mentally, as well as in every avenue that you can, as well as knowing your opponent.
Yeah, and I think it's I think it's incredible to be able to. I mean, and it is. I mean, it's a study of it, right? Because I remember somebody would figure something out, and they were the kid on the block that knew it, right? Whether it was original Nintendo or it was Sega, or it was anything, And I think we're echoing a little bit. Is that what they said? So, no. So, looking at different things that I remember growing up as a kid is seeing that, be it Nintendo, be it Sega, be it PlayStation, be it GameCube, be it anything that you were using, is that once you figured it out, you had the golden ticket, right?
Yes. And you could redeem that for more information from other people. So
yeah, and then I remember. I mean, I think about it now. When I couldn't figure out, I was playing a Spider-Man game, and I was trying to figure out how I could get from. It was a time thing, and it was like you start with 30 seconds, and you had to defeat all these bad guys, but you had to get them with like one move, and at the same time you're going around the city. So you got to shoot your web from place. You got to shoot your web, kill, shoot your web, kill, kill, shoot your web.
There's a long chain of action.
And and it's all these things, and I couldn't figure out how to do it. So I go online, I go on YouTube, I watch somebody who shows you exactly how to do it. I practice it, I figure it out. But back in the day, I had to tell my buddy, like, listen, I know how to do it. I have to show you. Come over to my house, and, I'm going to go back and forth with this, and I'm going to have to train you. So, you go back to that. Like, back in the day, we were the cheat codes.
Absolutely.
And I remember that, you could buy magazines that had different cheat codes and different things in it. You could look stuff up online and look up Madden and whatnot. Usually you'd wait, like you'd buy a game, and then you'd wait a few weeks or a couple months back then, and something might come out, and then you would get that. But then I think in some cases with those who created gaming, the games, they didn't want you to know. So a cheat code would come out, and then I feel like they would try to fix the game so that you couldn't use that code, so then you had to learn a new code, and it would just keep going back and forth, which is pretty, is pretty interesting back then that we were the cheat code, then magazines made them, and then those created, the developers of the games were like, wait, let's fix this, let's fix the glitch, and they would try to fix it, and then nowadays, I mean, for goodness sakes, a game comes out at 8 o'clock this morning, and you're telling me at 8:37, this is what you need to do. They can't stop it now.
Yeah.
But back then, there was nothing, and then there was something, and then they tried to stop it. And, somebody would give you a code. They'd say, hey, if you go on Jurassic Park and you type in dinosaur, you'll get like a special velociraptor. I'll get you to use the T-Rex. And then you'd use it like 3 months later. It wouldn't work anymore. So it's just interesting how things kind of happen and
Absolutely.
how they tried to stop it, and now, it's just part of second nature, really, with gaming.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, and that's what interconnectedness gives you, is being able to communicate with your friends and your peers among thousands of people across the globe. It's that collaboration. It's the spirit of competition, that everyone needs the same playing field in order to keep going forward. You look at these guides on how to play video games now, and it's, if you perform this action, you rotate your character in a certain way and roll forward, it automatically clips you through the wall, allowing you to get down faster. And like, there's so many more niche tips, I think, really, because like you said, back in the day, it was, if you put in code dinosaur, you get the dinosaur. Nowadays, if I log in to, let's say, a League of Legends, right?
Yeah.
League of Legends is, a very well-known game. If I pick a very specific character and I execute a series of actions perfectly, it will absolutely, result in a situation that is unique and may not necessarily be intended.
Yeah.
And so a lot of it is now finding these unintended shortcuts, these kind of odd things that weren't intended, like you said. So the original cheat codes, obviously, they were intended to a certain degree to offer some level of customizability, but now, it's really about exploiting the game.
Yeah, and I think when, you look at, like you said, exploiting the game, finding different pieces. I mean, there's games that have been, and I want to get into this later on in the show, but there's games that have been manipulated, and there's been glitches with games. There's actually a movie that just came out called Free Guy that's all about a glitch in a game.
Yeah, and I mean, what's the... Goodness, I'm totally forgetting the name. There's an entire book that was turned into a movie recently as well. Not Free Guy, but it was the previous one. I'm totally blanking on this. I'm gonna look it up. It's not Sonic the Hedgehog 2. It's the one with all the different characters in it. You know the one.
Pixels?
No, not Pixels.
Not Pixels.
It's Ready Player One.
Ready Player One.
That's
yes,
what it
okay,
was.
yeah.
It wasn't clicking with me because we don't have Player One video games anymore. You don't have Player One, Player Two. Nowadays, it's just single player or multiplayer.
Yeah.
So Ready Player One, it slipped my mind. But yeah, I think Ready Player One, the entire purpose of finding the glitch, and finding the exploit, and nowadays, that's just a common thing to do. And you look at games like Pac-Man, how you go up to a certain point,
Yeah.
and then the game freaks out and it doesn't display things properly. You look at Space Invaders, where if you clip into a certain area on the screen, you can just get like infinite lives by just spamming certain things. And nowadays, you have to actually break the game's code yourself in order to get this level of not cheats, but exploits. And obviously these cheats are now frowned upon. So I think the climate has changed regarding that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, because to me, it should be about, we talked about it should be about the skill, right? It should be about what you're capable of doing. It should be about something that is, I mean, I never liked, because somebody would tell me that, right? They'd buy a game and they would say, hey, if you do this, and if you go here and you jump this way and you hit these buttons at the same time, it'll bring you all the way to the end of the game. And I was like, well, I want to play the game. I want to get to learn the story. I want to know what it is. And they would tell you, like, if you're on level 1, you could do this, this, and this. It's going to bring you to level 13. You beat the big bad, and you're done.
Yeah. And some of it is discovering that yourself. So, like in Mario, like the original Super Mario Bros., you could hop up and go to the warp zone, right? Yeah. And that's something that I think I discovered personally. I discovered that on my own. The first time I played, I was like, oh, I wonder if I could get up here from I was in level 1, 2, and you can go up the elevators. I jumped on top, and I was like, what's over here? And I walked past, and it was like, oh my god, there's 3 pipes to go to the next 3 worlds, or 3 separate worlds. And so it's the little things. It's the feeling of discovering something new that really, it's the satisfaction of that. And I can say that definitely in modern games, playing through the first time is unrivaled in terms of that raw emotional feel, especially with some of these single-player games that really tell a story. But then once you've completed it, you don't want to just set it down because it's such a good game. And so that's when you play it again, and again and again, and you get faster and you get better, and you start finding these little tweaks, tidbits here and there, and then you start saying, oh, I wonder how fast I can do this. So
yeah, and that was, to me, that was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Hyperstone Heist, and that was once James and I, shout out to James Lynch, what's up, Jay? But Jay and I would play it. We would rent it from Blockbuster, and we would just play it on Sega over and over and over again. And we played all weekend, and like play it to the point where my mom's like, "You got to go to bed," because like my eyes would just be like
red and bloodshot, and you'd be like falling asleep, like, one more level.
and we finally beat Shredder. Like we finally did it, and like I think because you had to defeat. There was a lot of stuff that you had to do, and you had to defeat Krang, and so we win. And then it was like, all right, well, what do we do? And then it was like, well, next weekend, let's do it fast. Like you said, let's do it faster. Let's be better at it. And again, to go bring esports to parallel all sports, you figure out how to do something. Now you want to do it faster. You want to be more efficient. You want to be better, right? I started to hit threes. I've always had a deep shot. So I love shooting threes from the corner. I could always hit a three from the corner. But then you come up and you get to the wings, and that three is farther away, and it's a different angle, and I would struggle. So I'd make 8 in the corner, I'd make 2 on the wing. So then I had to keep shooting, and then I got more efficient, and then I said to myself, okay, now I want to see how many I can hit in a row. Now I want to see how many I can hit in a minute. Same type of thing as we're talking about with esports is once you figure out how to do it, you want to do it efficiently, you want to be the best at it, you want to be the MVP.
It's the muscle memory.
Yeah,
that's what it is. Is just like with shooting three pointers, free throws, what have you. It's just reflex. It's muscle memory. I'm sure if you put who's a big name in basketball right now?
LeBron James.
Put LeBron James. I should have known. I should have taken that. If you put LeBron James right on the court and you just said shoot as many threes as you can in a row, he could probably drain like 20, like just straight, not even thinking about it, because he's trained so hard. It's the same thing in all these games. You put a ball in front of a Rocket League player and they'll flick it up, dribble it, and knock it in the goal over your head before you can even blink. You put a lane of minions in front of a League of Legends player, they'll perfect 6 CS it, and the pro players, and they'll take their jungle camps perfectly. You put a team in front of the Overwatch player, they'll know exactly which ultimates to combo in order to get the most efficacy out of that team composition. So it's the skill, it's the preparation, and it's the muscle memory, and also the coordination and communication.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It all comes down to sports. It is. That's why it's called esports, electronic sports. We'll get into so much more after this fast break on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We are inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, but the Cafe Kubal travel studios are inside of the beautiful, wonderful, marvelous, stupendous. I got to find enough adjectives to describe this place. I want to say marvelous because I'm a Marvel fan, but the incredibly well put together. This used to be a cafe. I can't describe to you. I used to stand right here and buy Sobe drinks with all my extra, because you would just rack up points.
Yep.
And at the end of the semester, we would come in here and we would buy a bunch of frozen meals and Sobe drinks, and that whatever the heck it was, Lizard.
Yep.
I used to drink the heck out of Sobe stuff. Well, now it is a giant, beautiful array of technology. Marywood Esports Headquarters right here in the Nazareth Student Center on campus at Marywood University, my alma mater. And we will be back with plenty more coming up after this with Director of Marywood Esports Jacob Adler and myself, Dan Tortora, from inside of the headquarters that you need to come to. And I'm telling you right now, I came to Marywood without all of this. If you brought me in here, told me I could be a part of this team, gave me an opportunity to see this world of what I did at home anyways, this is a giant sell. And I would tell you, coming to Marywood is not only great for so many reasons that I took, but even more so with everything else they offer now. This room is equipped all over the place to have so many. I mean, if there was 6 chairs in here, I'd be happy.
Oh yeah.
This entire space is honestly one of the greatest things you're going to see as a gamer, as an esports team member. So coming to Marywood University should not be a thought, it should not be a if, it should be a when, and you need to sign that paper. So we'll take a step aside for a fast break. We'll be back right after this. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, on site, on location, making history with esports as we do an entire show on esports from the esports headquarters at Marywood University. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora from inside of the Marywood Esports Headquarters. Of course, Cafe Kubal, our proud studio partner with us on 3501 James Street, as well as 324 Westwater.
We'll mute the desktop as well.
So as well as 324 West Water Street, and of course on 3501 James Street, 401 South Salina Street, and inside of Galisanos Children's Hospital, all in Syracuse, on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York, and on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners in North Syracuse in their drive-through location. So with that being said, here, very excited to be here, and we are having the conversation about the history of esports, telling you exactly why it has a direct correlation to the world of sports in general, and we're having so much fun here having this experience with Director Jacob Adler. So, Jacob, to get back to it, there's something that you know very well, and there's something that everybody that's watching and listening knows very well. In 2011, which I can't believe this was 11 years ago, more than a decade ago.
You're making me feel old. Holy cow.
The online streaming platform Twitch launched, and within a year had 20 million monthly visitors.
Oh, yeah.
Your thoughts on the world before Twitch and the world with Twitch?
Wow. I mean, world before Twitch obviously was a little bit more focused on interpersonality and just chatting with the people you knew. Obviously, with the wake of the internet and the growth of everyone communicating with each other, trying to communicate as much as possible became the norm. Trying to interact with as many people as possible, sharing your opinions, sharing your lifestyle, sharing your enjoyments, your concepts, your thoughts, etc. with the world was the go-to. Because when you have this level of connection with anyone that you want to share that. And so what winds up happening is, as we see this Twitch software emerge, the Twitch website emerge, people started using that to converse, to share their ideas, play their games. And one thing that I think is really interesting is during the pandemic, obviously, that we faced in the past few years, Twitch really skyrocketed, I think. The viewership went through the roof. I don't know the exact numbers, but I know that it increased a lot. And what that really speaks to is that it speaks to the level of connection that people want to have with each other, is even in times of strife and when we're not able to actually see our friends and family, Twitch is a way to connect with people who share the same hobbies, goals, interests, and ideals as we do. And that really speaks to, of course, the human condition, but also the human love for video games.
Yeah, and seeing that, like you said, with Twitch, I mean, Twitch became a part of my life during the pandemic, and I've done a lot of different things. I've had a YouTube channel for a very long time, and Facebook since its institution, a little bit after, I think within the first couple months I was here at Marywood, and you get a thing on Facebook, and at the time, you could only be friends on Facebook with people that went to the college or university that you went to. So I only had 200 options at Marywood University. And then I remember one day I realized that people from anywhere could interact with you, because one of the girls I went to elementary school with reached out to me. It was Jessica Russo. Shout out, Jessica. But I was like, how did they show up on here? So, I had been using different platforms for a while, and YouTube was really the one that jumped out and was the notable one to share your thoughts, share your cheat codes, to tell people how to do something. I mean, I remember in recent history, the phone company that I had, they told me they couldn't fix my phone. There was no way to fix it. They didn't know how to do it. I went onto YouTube and I watched some kid in his 20s teach me in like 8 minutes how to fix my phone that the company said they couldn't fix. So, YouTube became a source for really everything to spread. And then during the pandemic, I got to know Twitch through a gaming-centric venue that's in central New York, and we were just kind of going over setting up a show and doing some different things with production, and I realized that Twitch is so multi-layered and so beautiful and so many nuances, and really, like, you can make anything look like you are in a studio of a major television network, and you just put it all together. It's incredible.
Yep. It's the broadcast quality, it's the accessibility, and it's really the fact that people are able to use it whenever, wherever they want. And their interest. I mean, if you've ever, for those of you who've used Twitch before, I'm sure you know the categories. When you load it up, you can click browse, and you can browse by the different games, the different categories. You have just chatting for people who just enjoy talking to their viewers, chatting and discussing modern topics. You've got talk shows. You've got people playing music and writing their own music. I think Deadmau5 was on Twitch at one point, just making music, looking through samples, etc. And he was pretty big on there. And you've got obviously people playing games, and it's turned into the ubiquitous gaming platform right up there with Discord and some of these other games. Steam is a big one. These are all the big names in online video games, and Twitch really has helped format this sharing platform, which people can share their interest in video games. So.
And where Twitch, like you said, there's so many different things that you can do with Twitch and connect with people in different ways. You just want to chat. You want to stream and watch somebody play. You want to play yourself. You want somebody to help you. Like you could go on to Twitch and say, hey, when I get to this part of Echo, I can't figure out how to go to the next level, and they could say, oh, hey, this is what you need to do.
Yep.
Where you need to go all the way to the left. You need to go down, and once you go down and you're by the coral, you need to go past this way. So, if we had Twitch back then, I wouldn't have played Echo for an hour trying to figure it out. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't have played Super Mario Sunshine shooting water at the ground because I just got to a point where I was just bored and angry. And so there's all these things that I would have learned back then, and it's instantaneous. And the cool thing about it is, bringing people in, right? The ability to say to somebody in Germany and Russia, hey, you know what? Let's talk about this together, right? WakeUpCall, we've had viewers, we've had listeners from Russia, from China, from England, from Italy and Spain and Canada and Mexico. So I know that we've been able to reach people from all over the world. How cool is that when you can reach people from those places and pull from them and learn from them? Twitch, like YouTube, like all these other venues, has made the world so small and so really interconnected. And during a pandemic of the last 2 years, finding a connection when we were disconnected was helping to keep us sane. And so, to the YouTubes and to the Twitches and to all the other venues that we can utilize, I want to say thank you, because, for mental health, you kept a lot of us going, because we are, by nature, human beings. We are community-based people, right? We are creatures of interaction. Mm-hmm. And when we didn't have that, we're creatures of having a connection. Twitch and YouTube and all these venues gave us the opportunity to do it and to really tell people how we're feeling, what we're thinking, or to just play a game together.
Yeah, and I think I couldn't have said it better myself, honestly, these are the things that keep us going, the ability to interact, because it's created this level of interaction where it's not like watching TV. You're not just, watching someone play golf or watching a TV show. You can interact with the person. That's the whole point of the chat function on Twitch and on YouTube and on all these live streaming platforms that we are actually currently live on.
Yeah.
Is we can see the chat, we can see all of you, and that's really one of the big things that you touched on, is part of the human condition, being able to interact and being able to communicate back and forth.
And yeah. And I think it is. It's to me, it's so cool, right? You and I can be here playing a game, as we could be team members playing a game against people in Zimbabwe. And then we go home and we're still on the same screen, can see each other, and it's like we're sitting in the same place. It's like nothing's changed. To the people on the screen, maybe nothing's changed. And, I mean, it's the evolution of all of it, right? It's the evolution of the Zooms. It's the evolution of the Microsoft Teams. There's all of these ways now to put everybody together, and gaming is such an incredible thing because we've been able to do this. We've been able to have these Halo tournaments and these Call of Duty tournaments and Overwatch and Rocket League and all these different pieces. And now we used to do them at home. We used to do them with our roommates. We used to do them with our friends. We used to do them with the kids in the block. Now, any block, anywhere in the world can be with us together in one house when we're not together. And I think, the multiplayer online platform where you got an Xbox and it said, did you want to try your free online subscription for a month and play against other people? I mean, it gives you a chance, like any sport, to see how good you are, right? You might be the best amongst your friends. You might be the best in Scranton, PA. You might be the best from here to 150 miles west. But are you better than California? Are you better than North Dakota? Are you better than up in Canada and Toronto? Now you have the opportunity to see just how good you are against the world, and that, to me, is really, really cool.
100%. And I think it's that spirit of competition is everyone wants to be the best. That's the whole point. You mentioned Twin Galaxies, I believe, was the site that you could use to communicate. It was that you mentioned early on, where people could record their game scores, people could record their speed runs, etc. It all comes back down to the spirit of competition, being able to record it and say, I was here, I did this, catch me if you can.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and you used to have to go to the arcade and you would say to yourself, like, who is JSL? Like, who is this person?
Yeah.
And when are they here? And why are they so good at Pac-Man?
And you'd get in line behind the two other people who were trying to beat JSL. You'd put your quarter on the side of the screen, lock it in, and watch, and hope that someone was either able to beat JSL or that they weren't able so that you could.
And there would always be that, like, person that was super weird that would stand over your shoulder and, like,
Just
be
breathing
there
down your
just
neck.
waiting for you to lose. And I'm like, dude, can you, like, the people at the bank, like, it's a pet peeve of mine. Like, when I'm at the bank and I'm at the ATM and you got to scan your card, right, to go into, like, those two doors when the bank's closed. When I'm at the ATM, don't scan your thing. Stay in your car and wait for me to be done.
Yep.
Don't put the quarter down in the arcade. Back up. Give me a second. And I'm having Pac-Man, Vietnam flashbacks right now because I remember that there was a Pizza Hut that had only one game, and it was Pac-Man. And then I think at one point they changed it to Miss Pac-Man. But Pac-Man was right there, and we would play it every single time. And it was, I don't know what it was, but I get good, right? And I make it through the first part, and then the second part. And then, like, you would just lose it. It would, like, I don't know what would happen. And no, you know what it was, too? Is that the joystick would stick.
Oh.
It would stick to, like, the left side.
Those darn kids drinking soda that would spill it on there, and then it gets stuck, and you couldn't use it.
But I still, with as far as we have come, and I don't know how you feel about this, but as far as we've come in game playing and esports and everything that we've done, I find myself still yearning for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and the X-Men arcade games where there was one joystick, the ball, right? The circle joystick, and A and B.
Yep, 2 buttons.
Start A, B, joystick, and that was it. And I miss those days because, like, those games were incredible. And you could only use your power at a certain time, and you had to use it, you had to get it back up. So Colossus I could go as Colossus from the X-Men, and I could stand in the middle of the room, and he would do this thing that sounded like a burp. And he would just be like, oh, like that, and he would just flex his muscles, and you can only do it like 2 or 3 times, but it would knock everybody out.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember Nightcrawler, you could bamf, and, you could just disappear, reappear, and different things, but you could only use them sparingly.
Right.
Right? And so those were the games where it was like, how do you beat this? And then the Ninja Turtles, and it was the same type of thing, right? If I'm Michelangelo and you're Leonardo, and I'm moving and I'm walking like this, and there's, and I'm getting attacked by a foot soldier here, he's hitting me, I can't see him because you're not moving yet.
Yeah.
So as far as we've come, I still think that, and I don't know if this is like for you, but to me it's the game.
Yes.
Like Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, original X-Men, Ninja Turtles, original Ninja Turtles, 18-wheeler, I can't play it the same unless I'm sitting at the arcade where you're sitting in like the big rig. So there's certain games to me that I don't care what console it's on, I don't care how many buttons, I don't care how easy or hard it is, Street Fighter 2, I'll never forget them. Do you have nostalgic games where you're like, hey, I don't want them to touch this, I just want to leave it like it is?
Absolutely, and I think one of the big issues for me is that, so like you said, you had the arcade fever of the early, probably 70s and 80s, and that was like the childhood for a lot of people. I can say my parents included. My mom used to tell me all about how she would go down to the arcade and put her quarters on there and get a slice of pizza while she waited, and she'd spend like just days playing like Tetris, Pac-Man, whatever. And same with my dad. is when those machines started to fall out of fashion and when they started to, only be relegated to actual arcades, it hurt a little bit, I'm sure, for a lot of people who grew up on those games. And I think the way that I compare it to is when Adobe Flash Player shut down. Because, and I'm going to shout this out to all the people who were on the internet in the early 2000s, 2010s-ish, is when you wanted to kill time, you would play Flash games. You would play the games that were supported using the Adobe Flash Player. You could hop on, play, Final Ninja Zero. You could play, trying to think, like Block Soars. You had Pong, which was a rehash of Pong. There were so many games that were unique and original and small, niche enough through the Adobe Flash Player that you could play 50 different games and never have the same feeling for each of them. But it was that sensation of having a wide library. I remember there was one website that you couldn't even look at the games. It just had a bunch of links. It was 3 rows of 40 links each. And each one you clicked on was a different game. And you could just click on it, it would open up in a new window and you could play it. And that's how we got through our technology classes in middle schools. After we got all our work done, is we'd sit there, we'd go up to the website and we'd play Commando 2, or we'd play, Tank Wars, or any one of these other Flash games. And so I found myself craving that, going back to it to try and find, any of these games. And some of the websites shut down, obviously, but there were a few that kept up. And with Adobe Flash Player shutting down, that really hurt. But there's some games that I'm still able to go back to. I think Nitrom did a really good job of making their own player that emulated Flash, so that they could keep their games up and going. And so playing a lot of those old traditional games, old traditional Flash games that I grew up on, that have been ported to new platforms that you can play through these updated installs and everything, that really brings back that sense of nostalgia for me.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you, Adobe Flash Player, it was crazy. If something wasn't compatible with it, then you couldn't do anything.
Right.
And then when things did work with it, if your computer worked right and you had everything you needed, it was perfect. And I remember getting warned for 2 years, Adobe's going away, and these little things would pop up. Do you want to delete it? Do you want to get rid of it? You want to take it off now? And I'm thinking in my head, why? Why do I have to get rid of it? So in the world of Adobe Flash Player and what happened and the eradication of it, how did you handle that, and what do you think it did for technology?
I think I moved on from Flash games a little bit. It's interesting to say that, because after Flash games I got into, I think it was Roblox was my first game outside of Flash games, because you could go on the launcher on the website, play any games you want. Actually, that's a lie. The first game that I played was Paradise Paintball. It was Uber Strike. That's a really, really old one that was really, really niche with a small group of people. It was huge in the browser games, and it got ported over to Unity, and it was huge. It was on Steam for a little while before it got taken down, and there was no longer support for it. And essentially what wound up happening was that was my foray into online gaming, from Flash games into there. Flash games was the entry level. Uber Strike was the what's the term for it? Gateway drug was the gateway drug, and then I started playing these online games. I started playing Roblox. I started playing Minecraft. I got a Minecraft account. Started playing that back in probably 2016-ish. Started playing Counter-Strike, and from there it was all these online games. Counter-Strike, Overwatch, League of Legends, Rocket League, Rainbow Six Siege, Valorant. Now these new games that kept coming out with more and more developments and interest. That was the entry from it. So I can't say that I can really go back and play, unfortunately, these games that almost raised me. But I am grateful for the experiences that I was able to gain from it, because it got me to where I was today. I want to say, actually, my cousin, who just got married literally 2 days ago down in Texas, she was one of the first people who sat down with me and played Portal on the Xbox. And that was my first introduction to the Xbox, of course, but also gaming as a whole. I was 8 or 9 when she first sat down and played Portal with me. And I think that was actually my first introduction to it. And from there I was like, well, I got to play more. And so I would steal my dad's phone and I'd play the games on that. So.
Yeah, and it's funny how, that was your introduction. Mm-hmm. My introduction was Super Mario 1.
Yep.
And, you know, it's like once you did it, okay, I gotta get more, right? And and to show you how involved we get. And really, I mean, whether you're in esports or not, folks, whether you know, knew about the history that we talked to you about this morning on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Marywood Esports Headquarters here at Marywood University, my alma mater, with Director Jacob Adler, whether or not you understood or knew anything about this, the reality is almost every single person that is watching this will watch this. You played a game, and you remember what your first one was. And there's some connection you had to it. So it's funny how there's certain things you feel like you can't remember.
Yeah.
But I can remember sitting on the floor. I can remember what the room looked like, what the bed looked like. It was, so my buddy James, his older sister, who's like part of my family, like a sister to me, Lisa, it was her room. The TV was in her room. The Nintendo was in her room. And I remember playing there. And we would have it's funny how you forget all this stuff, and then I remember the window, I remember the smell of the room.
It all comes rushing back, yeah.
Everything. I remember the bed posts. I remember the color of the room. I remember the layout of the house. I remember the games we played, and that there was like 40 people at the house, and James and I would sneak away, and we would go play Mario 1 or Mario 3. I never liked Mario 2. Never really got to play. You know what? I never really got to play it. He played it in front of me.
Yeah.
But I go back to Mario 1 and I go back to Chippendale.
Yep.
You talk about memories, and to bring Chippendale back up, I chased that game and found it at 36 years old. I first played that game when I was probably 9. So for 27 years, I had to have it. I bought a refurbished Nintendo. I bought that, I don't know, over a decade ago for like $44. I bought that and put it in the house. I linked it up to my flat screen on the wall.
Yep.
Rigged all that up.
With the adapters, and you had to like convert it and all that. Yep.
Yeah, put that all in, and finally found Rescue Rangers. We remember the moment. You all remember it. I don't care if it was Wii Tennis. Like, everybody remembers that first game that you go back to, and you remember the person you played it with. You remember who introduced you to it. I remember the first time I played Super Nintendo, where we played Super Mario on there with Yoshi. I was at my cousin Jeremy's house, and we sat on the edge of the bed, and if you didn't sit on the edge, you'd fall into the bed. And I remember we sat there and we played Super Mario, and that's when I realized Super Mario had a cape he could fly, and you could play with Yoshi. Yoshi became my favorite. But, like, there's all these things. I remember when James taught me on Super Mario 3 how to go behind all of the stuff that looked like it was one-dimensional.
Yep.
You know, it's like, it's funny how it's like, what did you have for breakfast? And I got to sit here for 10 minutes. But if you ask me about a game, I remember, like, I just pulled all that stuff up, and I haven't thought about that in such a long time.
It's the impact. It's the emotions that it gave you, and it's the impact. And I think that's really, and I'm gonna loop this back to Marywood Esports.
Yeah.
It's the environment that you share with your friends, the emotions that you have, and the feeling of accomplishment that you get. And that's really, you know, what Marywood Esports and esports at the collegiate and professional level is all about. Because I remember there was a game we were playing King's College, which is in Wilkes-Barre, or Wilkes-Barre, like 2 towns over. So it's a very local match, and this is for the National Esports Collegiate Conference. And we dropped 2 games, we won 2 games, and so we were going into map number 5. It was a very close game, very intense rivalry, and so when we hit game 5 and we finally closed it out, I think we probably blew out some windows upstairs. We were cheering so loud. Everyone stood up and started jumping around and cheering. I came out of the broadcast room because I was working on the broadcast at that time. After we'd shut off the stream, I came out. The team basically tackled me, and it was the best feeling. And I still remember that because it was a close match. It was very, very hard fought for Marywood Esports, and we came out victorious. And that's one of the closest victories that we had. was very close. Yeah, King's College. There it is, 3-2, and I still remember exactly that match. It was beautiful plays, and ultimately it was the Reaper and the Reinhardt that really shone through in that match to secure us the win. So.
Yeah, and I think it's, and we're going to talk a lot about coming off when we go into this fast break. We come back, we're going to discuss the world of Marywood Esports specifically, and why Marywood even more so. I mentioned that Marywood defeated Purdue in only the second game here of the 2021-2022 schedule, the second match, if you will, with Overwatch, and won 3-0 over Purdue in the NECC. But there's a lot to discuss, and we're going to discuss that coming off of this fast break. So we'll take a step aside here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We appreciate you being here, hanging out with us. This is such a unique broadcast, and those of you that have followed me over the last 18 plus years, that started right here on this campus in November of 2003 with MU Courtside, I appreciate you and I thank you, and I'm always about pushing the term and making history. And so to be in this room, and I gotta show you everything, folks. I gotta stand up right here. I have to show you here. I gotta show you the chair. You gotta check this out. This is state of the art. This is right on here. This isn't some cheap thing here. That's like stitched right in. That's locked in here. We got something for your head. You got something for your back. The chairs, the roll chairs here. It's supportive. It's good for you. Some lumbar support. Extremely awesome logo. And just everything is attention to detail. We are in this headquarters, and the Cafe Kubal Studios with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We are proud to be here in the headquarters of Marywood Esports, and there's nothing like this that I've seen. I've seen esports places. I have seen some, and they would total maybe a corner of this room. But to look at everything that we have here, I'm looking at just spacing-wise, it's like you got gamers in 2 spots here. We got a spot right here. We got a spot behind us. We got a spot in the back. We got 2 other spots.
I'll give you the whole tour. We have over 30 computers in here. We have right behind me this is the production room, so we have a dedicated room for our student producers, communication majors, and people who do our graphics. We have a lounge space for our gamers behind this wall that you see right here, for everyone to relax, get some food, get some drinks, take a break, watch the game. We have TVs all around. We have these these wonderfully designed chairs so that everyone can sit around, take a break, maybe do some gaming on like Switch, or just sit around and talk, discuss strategies. I think this is a really beautiful space, and I think you hit the nail on the head. Is we have a really, really supportive administration here, and I'm really grateful for this space, for this opportunity to provide so many experiences for the students here. So, but I'll let you keep going.
No, it's okay. And I appreciate that. You know it better than anybody. And the thing is, not every university, not every college has it yet, right? They don't have esports yet. They maybe don't understand it, or they don't have the space for it, or they try to put it in an old broom closet or something like that. Here, folks, this literally is a submersive place at Marywood University. Okay, I love the fact now I cover D1, D2, D3 in the NCAA. I cover the NJCAA for JUCO. I cover the USCAA for small colleges. I've seen it all, and constantly learning and seeing more stuff. I can tell you that there is no divisional dip. There's no change. Like, I look at what Marywood has here for esports, and I would tell you that I would expect to see this at Purdue, at the University of Alabama, at Florida with the Gators, at Syracuse. I would expect to see this in a Division I institution. So I want to thank Sister Mary Persico. I want to thank Pat Murphy. I want to thank everyone who has involved themselves in the administration of bringing this together, making this happen, and realizing that esports are sports. And, there's so much to discuss. We're going to get into a game later on in the show. But like I said, we're making history. We made history the day that Jacob came on and we did our Pacer Pride special, which we do Fridays exclusively on Wake Up Call in our multimedia marketing partnership at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time weekly. Jacob came on. We made history with that. Today, we're making history on top of history, broadcasting Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora from inside of the Marywood Esports Headquarters. And when this broadcast is over, we are not done. You can go on Facebook at WakeUpCall Twitter at CallDT, and Instagram at WakeUpCall_DT and see my quick video that we did before the show. After the show, I'm going to tour the space. We're going to get some pictures, some videos, and some cool pieces to this because I need you to see this, folks. This is, I don't want to say state of the art because it's growing, it's expanding. Put it to you like this. As a broadcaster who learned about digital media and broadcasting at Marywood, got my bachelor's here, and as Jacob said before the show started, you're a one-man band doing 27 things by yourself. I'm going to pick Jacob's brain after the show, and I'm going to get better. Okay, I'm going to become a better broadcaster, better at the software, better at technology, because you have to reach out and form those bridges and connect. Marywood taught me once, and they're going to teach me again, because this guy right here, your director of esports, he knows a lot. He knows what he's talking about, and in an hour's time, he helped to set up and give me avenues I didn't know I had before. So I'm honored that we have esports because it's going to make me a better broadcaster. We'll talk about a lot right after this break. Thanks, Jacob.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. The Millhouse Market, located on 3790 New York 13 in Pulaski, New York, is worth the drive every time. Make sure you make your way out to the Millhouse Market every Tuesday through Sunday for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And of course, you can download their app on the Google Play or Apple App Store today. You'll have everything at your fingertips, including all of their sandwiches named after the families that helped to settle today's Pulaski. Ingrained in our community and ingrained in our taste buds, the Millhouse Market is there for you with their indoor dining as well as their general store with local products from local companies, paying it forward by bringing in soaps, syrups, as well as honeys, jewelry, and so much more from the amazing people that are here with us in Central and Upstate New York. And at this time, especially over these last couple of years, I want to thank the Millhouse Market for doing everything they can to not only build up their local business, but to help others as well in the surrounding area of Pulaski and beyond. And of course, they have their drive-through pickup window to grab your food and go. Call 315-298-4104. That's 315-298-4104 to place your order today or for catering. And of course, you can get your order all set at the Millhouse Market app. And that, once again, is on the Apple app and Google Play Store. 3790 New York 13 in Pulaski, New York. Worth the drive every single time. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, we're back inside of our Travel Cafe Kubal studios, and I wish I had my chai tea right now from Cafe Kubal, get us all set and ready to go. I'll be getting that when I come back in, but we're on site on location. Wake Up Call took to the road. You know our hashtags, Wake Up Call everywhere, Wake Up Call on the road, and of course, to shorten it up, hashtag Wake Up Call OTR. And that's exactly where we are. We're OTRing right now at Marywood University, and we are at the Marywood Esports Headquarters with Director of Esports at Marywood University, Jacob Adler, and we are picture-in-picture enjoying an unprecedented broadcast of a Marywood Esports and, in general, esports takeover of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. So, before we go anywhere else, I want to jump into the 2021-2022 esports schedule. Now, the team has won double the matches that they've lost, 32-16, almost a 70% winning percentage, almost 30 games of those won in conference. Beautiful, and on a 4-game winning streak. The games, the beauty of esports, because you can be right here and anywhere in the world, someone else can be right on camera playing the game themselves. Because you can be anywhere at any time, there is no D1, D2, D3, this, that, and the other, and that is the amazing beauty of it all. And I love this. Purdue University has been defeated. So, you know, to see this and to see the fact that we have been in this awesome situation where Marywood University and any college or university can play anybody. Misericordia, Marywood's used to that. Purdue University, different here. And Marywood defeated Purdue 3-0. Also looking at a school that I know very well, and one of their players, and Central New York native, is going to be joining the show here within the next couple weeks, and that is Charles Pride, who won a state championship with the Liverpool Warriors. He plays for the Bryant Bulldogs at Bryant University, plays men's basketball. And Marywood defeated Bryant University in esports 3-1 here in this season that's continued on. Murray State is another team that we've seen on the schedule. Defeated Purdue again in the NECC playoffs, which is huge, defeating Springfield, Purdue, Bryant again, and New England College. Look at some of the other schools on here of note, schools that I've covered. Temple, who is a part of the American Athletic in so many of their sports. We talked about the King's College one here locally. Ithaca College, which many people in Central and Upstate New York know all about. Ithaca, the Bombers, I know Ithaca well. And 3-1, they were defeated back at the end of March by Marywood University. So it's really, really awesome that you can play anybody. And like I said, looking at this schedule, for those of you that are big-time sports fans, you know the Temples, you know the Purdues, and you know the Bryant from making the NCAA tournament for the first time ever in men's basketball this year. And then there's teams from outside of the country, up in Ottawa, and I know you played teams up in Canada, multiple teams. So just what you can say about the world of esports, Jacob, and the fact that anybody's game, pun fully intended, and, you know, we could see Marywood play Florida, Alabama, UCLA. I mean, it's Syracuse. I mean, we could see you really play anybody, which I think is incredible. And not only have we seen you play anybody, you've beaten the majority of those anybody's, which is really awesome.
Yeah, I mean, in this season right now, Overwatch themselves is 7-1. Rocket League separately is, I think, 6-2 or 5-3. I know that Rocket League had a very solid record in the National Esports Collegiate Conference this season. So both of those teams are doing absolutely wonderful right now. And like you said, it's absolutely incredible that we're able to play these schools. And one thing that I do want to touch on is not only do we just play against these schools, but I also have my local connections at these schools. Some of my friends, colleagues who I've worked very closely with are members of the esports organization at Ithaca College who've run this program, who've gained support at the club level. It's not even supported by the athletics administration yet. It's a club sport run fully by the students. And I've seen some of them go from broadcasting to now working for actual broadcasting companies on the West Coast in California. And so it's the transition from collegiate esports into whatever you want to do and really being able to capitalize on that. But we also beat my alma mater, is SUNY Oneonta. We beat them, I think, 3-0 right before Ithaca College, right after King's College. And it was an emotional moment for me because it really made me realize just how far I'd come from being the president of the Oneonta Esports Club, just a standard club sport, same thing as Ithaca. It was being completely run by the students, and now sitting here in this wonderful studio, this headquarters, fully supported and endorsed by Marywood University and the athletics department, it made me realize that esports has a long way to go. Everyone's in a different place, everyone's in a different time, but the one thing that everyone loves in esports is the game. It's all about the game, the competitive integrity of it, making sure that everyone has fun, and that's what brings us all together. And I mean, if we can do that, we can do just about anything. You know, I'm still chatting with my friends and colleagues at Ithaca and Oneonta, trying to help them get off the ground as much as they can, and trying to help grow the industry wherever I can from my position here at Marywood and beyond.
You know, and you talk about growing things, and you talk about, you know, obviously helping people and go from a club sport to being something that's fully endorsed by the college or university, and, you know, something that is an actual sport that's added to their portfolio. Mm-hmm. How do you get there?
I think the biggest way to do it is to form as many connections as possible. That's one of the things that I really did in my previous position as president of the Oneonta Esports Club. Is I started forging connections with some of the undergraduate admissions staff. I started connecting with the sports department. This is unfortunately pre-pandemic, so things did fall apart slightly, but it's building the connections, it's creating these ideas, working with people to move forward, make more opportunities for students. The whole point of creating any program is you need a stable groundwork. You need to know what you're going to be doing, how you're going to be doing it, the duration, what's the scope, etc. And from there, it's just about making sure that this is going to be right for the students. And for esports, I think there's really no way that you can look at it and say, this is not good for the students. This is, everything about esports is offering students more opportunities to play, to broadcast, to create, to interact with their peers, build communication, teamwork. It's a net gain for everyone. And so from there, it's just a matter of allocating the resources necessary, building up the connections, making sure that you're able to do that. So,
yeah, you know, in Marywood, and again, we're going to take a tour of this after the show as well, but Marywood puts so much into this. We're not talking about like 3 computers, again, in a broom closet, you know. Mm-hmm. There's an entire identity. There's an identity on the wall. There's an identity on both sides of the Nazareth Student Center. There's an identity, you know, I took a picture of it outside on the windows. There's, you know, the Fierce Focus First, which is Marywood University in and of itself. I mean, and again, when we talk about the chairs and everything that's here, like everything is done with an attention to detail. Mm-hmm. Marywood spared no expense in making this happen. Mm-hmm. So what can you say about starting an esports program at a college or university like you did here at Marywood University that put everything into it and said, hey, we're not going to half do this. We're not going to make it look okay or make it functional and then look at it 3 to 5, 10 years from now. This looks like it's been here for 20 years.
Right. And I do want to say credit where credit is due. I was not the person, unfortunately, who was in charge of designing the space, creating all of these wonderful assets and everything. That was the previous director. But one thing that I can say is this space is wonderful, and what it really boils down to is that administrative support, like you said. I think one of the big issues in collegiate esports right now, I'm going to speak directly into the camera because this is a big issue that I see in a lot of schools, is that colleges and universities are using the term esports as a buzzword. It's something that you say that you can offer to students, and in reality what winds up happening is it's run by a couple of students alongside their peers, maybe one person supervising it, and it doesn't really offer that much in the way of an actual experience. Club sports obviously are a step up from that because it's a dedicated series of individuals. But past a certain level, you need a set of full-time staff members. You need this space to do it. And so one of the big issues is lack of support from administration who just want to capitalize on the results. They can see the effects that esports has on these students and on the experience for these student athletes and college students and the college experience as a whole, and they want to provide that, but they are not willing to compromise and say, well, if we want to get something out of this, we need to give to it.
Yeah.
So that's one of the big things that I want to say for collegiate esports supporters, for people who may work at a college or university who may have a sway in this, and for people who are involved in collegiate esports in any way, shape, or form, is be supportive however you can. Refine your perspective, refocus on what the objective is, and be willing to compromise in some ways, because esports is here to stay, and you can't have it both ways where you can just throw everything together in a broom closet, like you said, and expect the same turnout. Marywood has done an incredible job here. I cannot get over this facility and how absolutely beautiful it looks. It's very clear that there's time, effort, and dedication put into building this. When I first got here, one of the first things that I did was meet with the IT specialists, the IT team, to make sure that everything was up to scratch, everything was working well, and it's building connections, it's making sure that you have the resources, and from there the sky's the limit. So to everyone out there who's interested in collegiate esports, who's willing to work for it to make it successful, I want to thank you personally, because this industry is a passion of mine. From the bottom of my heart, this is one of the things that has really shaped who I am today. And to those of you who may doubt, collegiate esports, I want to say that just keep watching. We're not gonna hate you. We're not gonna shame you. We want to educate. We want to show you what we are capable of. We want to really make everyone realize that collegiate esports is something special. And I think every day that we are around here live streaming, on twitch.tv/Marywood Esports, on our social media at Marywood Esports on Twitter, Instagram, and you can check the website Marywood.edu/esports. It's showing just how dedicated we are to growing the industry. So just make sure to follow the industry for all the cool stuff, and I'm sure that once you do, you'll see just how cool it is.
Yeah, and like you said, and I second what you brought up. The fact that we, as a society, you can't with really anything. You can't say, hey, we're going to do this, or let's try it. You got to go all in, right? Mm-hmm. Nobody says we're going to go try out having a basketball team, right? You have to have a facility. You have to have a court. You have to have everything up to snuff. You have to have locker rooms for visitor and home. You have to have different. When somebody comes in and checks your entire space, everything has to be put together correctly. It could come down to how many chairs you have in the locker room. It could come down to how many showers do you offer, and the access to water. Just normal basic stuff you wouldn't even think of, but you have to have it, right? You have to have, for football, you have to have an arena. Mm-hmm. You have to have a place to play, and you have to have the proper pads or you can't compete. So for esports, you can't just throw anything together. And like you said, the former director, you can't take credit for building it, but you can take credit for being in this season, right? Mm-hmm. Esports at Marywood didn't exist before 2021.
Right.
And so you have been here. We've talked about the road to get here. why was this so appetizing? Why was this such a good? I mean, you're young,
Yes.
right? How old are you again?
22.
So you're 22 years old, fresh out of college, and you're a director of esports. You're a director of an ever-growing, ever-expanding market. You're a director of a historic moment in Marywood University, a historic moment in the country, arguably across the entire nation. You are part of history that is being written today. Why be a part of esports as a director? Why be a part of this history? And why Marywood?
Wow. Well, I mean, that's a huge question. And, you know, every day I wake up and I pinch myself to make sure that I'm not dreaming, because this is ultimately my dream job. I've been involved with esports. I think the first competitive esports event that I ever attended was ESL 1 in 2016, which is a Counter-Strike Global Offensive tournament. Number of teams: Team Liquid, Navi, Astralis, Cloud9. I think Cloud9 was not there. They did not make the qualifiers. Virtus Pro. I'm trying to think of some other ones. SK was definitely there. But all of these teams competing on the live stage, and I went with a close friend of mine in New York City. We stayed in a hotel for a couple of days. We survived on caffeine, McDonald's, and pure adrenaline and love for the scene. It was electric. It was addicting. Once I was there, sitting in the stadium, cheering with so many fans, I still have the hat that was signed by a professional player who, unfortunately, is a streamer, has retired from the competitive esports scene and is now a streamer. Shroud, who used to be with Cloud9. I got his autograph on a Cloud9 hat, and this is still one of my most prized possessions. That was my first foray into an actual competitive esports event. From there, my friends and I tried to put together competitive teams. Unfortunately, we weren't very good. We were still like silver, gold, maybe, when competitive teams are, you know, global elite. But it was fun, and that was the biggest thing. We've spoken about the memories, the emotions that you get. It was such a huge bonding experience for me with my friends and my colleagues. And when I went off to college, SUNY Oneonta, the esports club was small. It was run by one person who had started to turn it into kind of like a casual organization. I said, hey, what if we made this into a competitive scene?
Yeah.
And there was a bit of pushback at first, obviously. They wanted to make sure that it was still going to offer all the same opportunities for these students. But ultimately, you know, we prevailed. And now the students are enjoying, you know, a season within the National Esports Collegiate Conference. There's I think something like over 20 competitive teams, counting Super Smash Bros, Overwatch, Rocket League, Valorant. So many more games that are being offered there. And I'm so proud to see the growth of it. And from there, from my degree and my time at SUNY Oneonta, I wanted to be part of esports. And from there, I started getting more involved with the industry. So you mentioned that Merrywood competes in the National Esports Collegiate Conference. I actually worked with them. I interned with them for a semester as a game manager for League of Legends, which is the game that I personally play the most. I have like 1,500 hours or something like that in it. And I helped coordinate the games, the tournament side of things. And when I saw that Marywood University was on the list of schools that was competing last semester, I said, wow, you know, this is a school who has done everything right. They had support from the students to create this facility, to create this environment, and they said, okay, what can we do to make this happen? And someone said, let there be esports, and lo, there was esports. So I think that's one of the big things. It's like why I chose Marywood is it is the support from the administration. You know, my alma mater is still a club sport. SUNY Oneonta is still a club sport. Ithaca is still a club sport with all of my friends who go to Ithaca College. So seeing that Marywood has all the support of the administration is heartwarming for the state of collegiate esports. But also it's an example of what everyone should strive for, to offer as many opportunities for these students as possible, to really make the student experience as good as we can, and to stay up to date on the current trends for college students. And so I'm grateful and I'm blessed that my path brought me here, that I was able to be in the right place at the right time with the right set of skills, and really that I'm able to sit in this chair and talk with you today, because I don't know where I would be otherwise. This is my life. It's my passion, and I want to do everything I can to make esports successful for the student athletes, for all the supporters and all the fans out there, for all those who want to be involved going forward.
So what's the team like? How would you describe the personalities of the Marywood Esports team?
Now here's where the fun part starts. Is now I've gone on my whole emotional spiel about how I have this deep-seated love for esports, but now here we get into the nitty-gritty and we get each of the teams. So each of the teams at Marywood definitely has their own style. One thing I can say, Rocket League, because they mirror traditional sports very, very closely. It's rocket cars essentially, and I think we might get into that game a little bit, maybe if we're feeling like it.
Yeah.
They're very, head down, very traditional, very like, let's go. Here's our practice time, here's what we're working on. They're very on top of things because they know what they need to do to improve, and they're just running with it.
Yeah.
League of Legends, they take a bit more of a roundabout, kind of newer approach to it. I mean, League of Legends, the last season that they competed, they didn't do too hot, and that's in the fall season, but that's perfectly fine. First year, so no shame there. Still trying to get their footing, and really their style is very unique because it's the blend between traditional kind of head down, nose to the grindstone, and this kind of new energy that can be found within esports. Yeah. And Overwatch is all about the new energy. Overwatch is so hyped and energetic, and like I mentioned, after King's College, I came out of the room and I was basically swarmed by all the players on the team. That's the electricity that I speak about. And that's not to say that the other teams don't get excited. But with Overwatch, it's every day. Every day I come in here, and they're practicing and they're grinding, and that's not to say that the other teams don't do that. But you can feel the energy coming off of them. They really wear it on their sleeve. And they're proud to be a part of something. Everyone here is proud to be a part of something bigger than themselves. Marywood Esports program, and I think every athlete here, every student athlete, is able to wear that proudly. And that's not even talking about the production team, which I do want to recognize, is because in addition to our 3 teams, of course, we wouldn't be where we are today without the production staff. We have a group of 3 to I think it's 5 broadcasters and commentators, and observers. So we have one person who works on the stream, like you're doing, right now. We have one person who focuses on the actual observation in game, mounting the cams in game so that you're able to see the proper perspective at all times. And then we have our commentators who make sure that everyone is able to understand what's going on with all the information that they can. So we have a team of 5 or 6 people, I think, who really make every game special, and we do live stream all of as many matches as we can. I like to say all of our matches, but every once in a while there's a little hiccup. So I mean, twitch.tv/Marywood Esports, just going to plug that one real quick. And across all disciplines, we've got architecture majors, we've got biochemistry majors, we've got communications, graphic design, we've got English majors, we've got just about everyone. And that's really, everyone comes together with this love for the game.
Yeah, and for the love of the game. I mean, we know that. We know that in the world of sports very well. So I appreciate a look inside of our teams here in Marywood Esports. As the director, how do you oversee? What, because obviously you're a gamer, you love it, you live in that world. So how do you oversee, as the director, each of the personalities, each of the teams, the production, the broadcasters? You have to have your hand in everything, and you have to be able to dance the dance, so to speak. How do you do it?
Well, it's one big balancing act, I can tell you that much. One of the things that I've come to terms with is that there's a long way for me to go to be able to know every team inside and out. I'm still working through, I think, my third or fourth month here, and we've had our fair share of hiccups and bumps here and there, and I'm working through it. It's about learning from every experience that you get, good or bad, to really turn that into something productive and move forward with it. Each team requires a different coaching style. Each team requires different amounts of skill based on the game knowledge that they already have. And so my job is, regarding to the teams, my job is to make sure that each student athlete has the proper resources that they need to compete and to succeed in that competition, and to go up against these schools and win, obviously, but even if they don't win, to learn something. And regarding each of the teams, that's how I really like to manage that. Obviously, with the help of the team captains and the coaches who we have on staff, it really helps. It makes things easier, and that's one of the ways that I'm really able to manage it. Is there's the hierarchy. Is that I don't have to be in every practice. The coaches can take over and say, all right, we're doing this, this, and this. Let's work on these skills, and we'll go for the game. And that's, having the hierarchy definitely helps. As for the students, I take care of a lot of administrative duties, such as making sure that everyone is staying up to date on their schoolwork.
Mm-hmm.
I got to make sure that everyone is in a happy, healthy state of mind.
Right.
Because you can't compete without a good mindset. As for broadcasting, the broadcast team, I'm very, very hands-on with them in the way that I create notes for them every week. Is here's the teams that are playing, here's the information from the previous matches, here's the scores, here's this team is 5-2, this team is 6-1, and going into the match, here's the roster list, here's what we're talking about, here's some cool talking points. So I provide those to the broadcasting team, and generally I don't really need to provide too much else for the broadcasting team. They all have incredible amounts of knowledge that they're so graciously sharing and using to forward the growth of Marywood Esports. And on the backside of things, I also manage the social media. I work on marketing. I host the events. And I do want to plug this one. We have an event coming up on the 23rd. Okay. I don't know if you're going to be around, but we're going to be playing against Lackawanna College in an esports symposium sort of show match to christen the People's Security Bank Theater with a new upgrade for esports and hosting the first Scranton showdown in that space. So, if any of the viewers want to attend, if you would like to attend, it's going to be free admission. We're just trying to get as many people interested in esports as possible. So, if you want to stop by.
Yeah, and I think that's the awesome part of it, right? Is that it's ever growing, it's expanding, and there's opportunity. Mm-hmm. And that was the other thing that I was going to say is because of the ability to play a season regardless of weather, to play a season regardless of semester, the season continues to evolve and to grow. So how do you put the season together? Are you constantly looking for universities and colleges to play? Does the season ever end before? Does it go from coming in the fall to graduation? How is a typical esports season, knowing the fact that you don't ever really have to stop? And I can imagine, like with any gaming, and me as a child, mm-hmm. once you start, you can't really stop.
Right. And I think that's the main point is moderation. Because what I hear a lot is, and what I've seen a lot is burnout. Because these aren't full-time athletes who are able to dedicate so much time and effort into playing these games. And even with those full-time athletes, you need to take breaks, obviously. LeBron James doesn't play basketball 24/7. Yeah. He doesn't sleep on the court or anything. He goes home to his family, takes a break. Maybe he'll watch some basketball. Maybe he'll go on a golf trip or something. He doesn't have to preoccupy himself with only basketball. He doesn't have to live it. For so many of these student athletes, esports is their passion, but gaming is their hobby. So having that good separation and making sure that they're maintaining a good work-life balance is vital for me as well, because I live and breathe esports, but also gaming is my hobby. So when I'm able to get off work and I go back home and I chat with my friends and maybe we'll run a couple games of League of Legends, or we'll play a game that isn't offered here like Valorant or something. It's maintaining that work-life balance. And all these students are really putting up the numbers and working as hard as they can. For the seasons, we do fall and spring semester because, like you said, it's not discouraged by the weather or by distance, for that matter. And so it's usually one match a week, and the rest of the time is practice. So one match per week. We make sure that those are live streamed. And then we'll coordinate, because each of these schools, we've played against them so many times that if we want to practice, if we want to maybe run a game to see where we might be lacking, say against a school that we lost to, Howard Community College, I think is the one that is the only loss that the Overwatch team had this season. Scrimming against them and practicing against them would improve the team.
Yeah. So, the question is, so from here, with some time left in the semester, Are you adding? Are you looking to bring in?
I think I'm always looking to bring in,
Okay.
and that's the thing is no matter what, there's always going to be new students coming in who are interested in esports in some capacity. There's always going to be an abundance of it, because esports is a passion for so many, and there's really not too much trouble finding people who are interested. It's making sure that this is the right fit for them, making sure they're maintaining a good work-life balance, making sure that they're able to complete their degree and go into the field that they want to. If it pertains to esports, obviously, then all the more support for them, and they'll receive recommendations from me, coordinations with some of my colleagues who run leagues and tournaments and things like that, internships wherever I can find them. My job is to support these students.
Yeah.
So, I mean, right now, obviously, we've got our teams. We're looking to recruit more athletes going into the fall and the summer and the fall semesters. So we're always looking to recruit more. In terms of expansion for the program, I have some ideas, but really what I'm trying to do right now is just get my feet on the ground, make sure that everything is up to scratch in terms of the teams, in terms of the space, in terms of building these working environments with the students. And from there, it's anything's possible.
Yeah, coming from Jacob Adler here with us. Very much appreciate the fact that we've been able to jump into this awesome world of esports at Marywood University. We are inside of the space as we are enjoying a never before seen wake up call with Dan Tortora, as we are in an esports headquarters doing the entire show on esports, letting you know that esports are sports. And I am very excited that Jacob Adler, the director of esports at Marywood, has joined me and let me in the space to have this awesome opportunity to make the digs look really, it looks awesome on our YouTube and Facebook feeds here on Facebook.com and YouTube.com/WakeUpCallDT, and that's kudos to Marywood University and the esports team here. We're going to take a step aside for our final fast break. When we come back, I'm going to try my luck at Rocket League, and I'm going to see what I can do. So,
all right.
So with that being said, for Jacob and I, we'll be back right after this fast break on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. Tortora inside of our Travel Cafe Kubal Studios and inside today of the Marywood Esports Headquarters here at Marywood University, my alma mater. I'm here with the Director of Esports at Marywood University, Jacob Adler, and it is now that portion of the show where we get to have fun. Now, typically every Tuesday we do the Ingredients to Success presented to you by Avicoli's on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, and that's usually right around 10:50 a.m. Eastern Time. And we are going to do it now, the Ingredients to Success. Now watch. We're going to play the game. We're going to play Rocket League. And then the Ingredients to Success, the topic is how to play Rocket League. I'm going to play incorrectly, I'm sure, because this is the first time I've ever played it. So I'm going to play and probably show you what not to do. And then the Ingredients to Success, I'm going to let Jacob tell you what you are supposed to do. So with that being said, we're adding a new source here for you as we take a look at what we're going to bring in here right now. So we're going to bring in Rocket League, and hopefully...
Just go back over to the window. If you no, just go back over to the game window on the bottom. Yep.
So we're going to bring up Rocket League here and see if we can get it all set and looking pretty.
So it's not working. Oh, there it is. It's good.
Okay.
Yep.
So we're going to go back here and take a look at it.
Yep.
So now I'll be able to play.
Yep. So go back to the window.
Go back to the window. So you guys are going to watch me play. Mm-hmm. Hopefully you can still hear me. I don't know if they can hear me.
They can.
They can?
Yep.
Okay. I can't hear me.
So I'll provide some backstory and some insight. So just press the continue button.
Okay. So
Bottom
we're
left
going
corner.
to continue this thing up here.
All right. Press OK. So you're going to go into, and actually what we can do right now is we can create a private match, and I'll show you.
Okay.
I'll show you how to do this. So I'm going to create the match. So go to, on the left side, play. Go to custom games. You're going to go to private match, join match. The name is WakeUpCall DT, all lowercase. And the password is DT. And wait, we have 1 second. I'm going to create the match.
Uh-oh. I didn't do it.
Give me 1 second.
Oh, sorry.
DT. And... oh.
There we go.
Hang on. I'm actually going to leave the match real quick because I had the previous settings on, so I have to adjust that real quick. Okay. So if you could just leave the match real quick.
Yep.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how the game works, all the boosts that you can use, and the way that things kind of function. So you're just going to go to join private match, click that, press join. I'm going to join MU, you're going to join DT.
Okay. Now, can they hear us on here is the question.
They should be able to, yes.
I can't hear me. So
that is okay.
Hopefully y'all can hear us here as we are getting set to play this game. You can hear us. Okay, so here we go.
So click join DT.
Join DT.
All right.
Here I am.
Alrighty. When the ball drops on the middle, you can see that it always drops in the same part of the field, and there's a bunch of these little pads all around, right?
Yeah.
Those give you boost. You start with a certain amount of boost in your meter. You can see in the bottom right corner, you start with 33. Each time you press mouse 1, or the left click button, you use a little bit, but you can gain more by...
Come on.
By going over the...
That's going to go in.
So I'm not sure what the jump button is for you. So I would press the escape button real quick.
Okay, hit the escape
Go
button.
to settings.
Yep.
Go to controls on the top middle.
Controls, yep.
And go to view change bindings. And so jump is, okay, so jump is right click.
Okay.
Okay, so press the escape button. Yep, a couple times. There you go. One more time. Resume game. So if you press...
So we are playing Rocket League right now for the first time ever on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and we are inside. Where am I going? And we are inside of the incredible, awesome Marywood Esports.
Our HP Omen computers with HP Omen monitors as well. We have our Omen keyboards, our Blast headsets, and inside each of the computers is a 3070, I believe. So these are very powerful machines that we use for all the students to be able to play these AAA titles: Overwatch, Rocket League, League of Legends. All these that require, you know, some
Make it.
in our broadcast room, being able to.
Yeah. Keep rolling. No! Are you kidding me?
Being able to use those for our broadcast, our top-of-the-line broadcast. So it's very clear that there's been a lot of time and effort sunk into making this a very supported environment for all the players. And to be fair, I think the main methodology is usually on controller. So this is a little bit of a new sensation for me.
This is a new sensation for me, too.
To be fair, we're also playing one-on-one most of the time in these games. You also have 2 other teammates. Some video of
people playing that know how to play.
Marywood Esports team playing. Yeah. Maybe not Rocket League, but I know that we definitely have an Overwatch video saved.
Oh, come on. I wanted one more.
It's all right. So it's 5 minutes per match. And
there we go.
Ball's right in front of the goal there. Go. So what they're able to do is they're able to coordinate and shoot ball off the wall. So I'm going to try and do something cool here. Let's see if I can wrangle it.
You're going to see if you can do it.
So off the wall there.
Okay.
What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to come around and grab a boost. Nah. So the goal is, with that trick, is you want to try and hit it back into the goal from underneath. So if you haven't noticed, you can also control your boost in the air. So
get it.
Ah, you juked me out there. So
when you're listening to everything you're saying, I was focused.
Yeah, you were hyper focused. So when you're in the air, you can you jump and then you can boost as well.
Gosh dang it!
Faking each other out here.
Daniel, forgot what I was doing for a hot minute. Oh, come on.
So I'm not the best at dribbling, but that essentially, you can see what I do here is I tap it on one side, and then you tap it on the other side. Pro Rocket League players can keep the ball on top of their car while they're...
No idea where the ball is. There it is. You were waiting for me. Totally unfair. No! Get out of here. Get out. Get out.
Alright.
Where's it? Oh, no. 1 minute remaining.
Alright. I'm feeling it. I'm back into the swing of things on Rocket League.
You're back into it? Alright.
So look, off the wall, right in front of the goal. 1, 2. Got these curved walls and ridges, and there's a bunch of different arenas that you can choose from as well.
Well, that's the cool thing, too, is like you said, there's different arenas. Oh my gosh. Where did you go? You can tell that I'm having a staring problem.
Very focused.
It's called... these. I should broadcast some of these things for you guys.
Salvation 21 going up left side. Shot on goal blocked by X Generic. Salvation 21 falls back towards the center. Trying to make the shot happen. Curls it back. Goes for the boost.
Are you kidding? I'm just about to hit it.
I wasn't prepared. I would have had a controller for you. It's a lot closer. A lot easier if you have a controller. You get the stick momentum, your boost on left and right and brake, etc. So it's a lot more intuitive on controller, I can tell you that much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and pull up one of the Marywood Esports live streams.
Okay.
If you want to just swap back to us, of course, see our beautiful faces one more time, and we'll try and get one of these live streams up. So this is
so that was what not to do on my side, not on Jacob's side, on my side. However, I want the world to see that I lost 4-3, not knowing what I'm doing.
It was a good match. You did hit some solid goals on me, I can say.
I got the one where I hit it, and then right before I was about to leave the goal, I got to the left side, tapped it in, did what I needed to do. Hey, you know what? I played better than Purdue played against you.
That's how you do it. That's you can say that you played better than Purdue. So
and the good thing is, it's Marywood versus Marywood, so only the Pacers can win.
Absolutely, only the Pacers always win. That's the whole thing. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna send you a link. Here's the Twitch video.
Okay.
And so what we're gonna do is just real quick.
Yep.
All right. So we're gonna hop back over to this in the chat, and this should give us the ability to watch the. Now this is a different game. This is Overwatch, and so what this is going to do is we will be able to.
You can just if you want to share the web page, you can do that.
We'll do desktop capture. There we go.
Okay, cool.
Return. There we go. We'll turn that off. And now this is Marywood Esports Overwatch versus Alvernia, if I'm correct. So I'm actually going to up the quality real quick, just because this is.
We're hearing the broadcasters right now. This is nuts how fast this is going.
Oh, yes, absolutely. So what this is right now, this is a first-person shooter game. This is very much different than the sports-type game of Rocket League. So what this is right now is, we're seeing these teams go against each other, and they're grouping up at the choke point. Marywood is in that light blue color. You can see on the top we've got 2 ultimates available. That's a blue check mark. And those are our super strong abilities. J County gets a quick kill onto the front line tank. That's the Reinhardt. There's the amplification matrix, trying to get as much. County rains down these arrows onto the opposition, getting a little vision, and they wipe out the entire enemy team. And they recapture the point. So this is capture the flag, basically. Or not capture the flag, capture the point. And then you can see the percentage bar on the top waiting up. So right now, Can Steam is waiting right outside this choke point for Overwatch. They're grouping up. There's the vision arrow offering knowledge of where the other team is. And I think, if I'm correct here, there's the bomb taking out a lot of damage and making them use their utility. Big shatter. There's the dragons, the double dragons, and the blizzard ultimate. And that's another team wipe. So now Marywood's at 62% in climbing going into this last fight here. And like you said, there is a lot going on.
Yeah, I'm here. Like those of you that are watching and listening right now, you're hearing the broadcaster. The broadcasters have to be like, it's almost like when you're broadcasting an esports event, like something like this, it's almost like you're at a, whatchamacallit,
yeah,
it's insane how fast the action is.
And I've done my fair share of broadcasting too, so I can provide some actual casting insight. So going into this choke point, there's the May on the front line trying to get the freeze, but it actually gets counter frozen. J County falling to the soldier. Confusion gets a kill on Tomato Tony. There's the immortality field laying down for Alvernia. Lucio barely able to escape up to the higher levels to Micro B, trying to build that ult charge, maybe stall out a little bit more on the point, dropping the ult in the side room. Point is at 99%. Marywood is in overtime. There's the double kill with the tactical visor from to Micro B. Falling off the ledge. That is very unfortunate. 97, 98. I don't know if Marywood's going to be able to touch this one. Unfortunately not. We're going to go into point number 2 on this first map.
This is crazy.
So yes, our broadcast team is very dedicated and very, very good at what they do.
No, and it's good. And hearing you do that, we're hearing them, and then hearing you give your piece of it as well, and then we're seeing, the group here. I mean, as someone who's commentated basketball games and, a bunch of different sports games, but a lot with basketball, the speed at which you spoke is literally what we have to do sometimes. Which
Oh
is
yes,
insane.
absolutely. I can
Yeah.
say that for sure.
Another side of it, more than showcasing esports are sports because of the fact of the broadcasting piece of it and how quickly you have to be able to understand the action, know the game, know the names, know who's on the team, know what they're doing, know where they're going. I mean, you just picked it up in real time and were able to give us an account of everything that was going on at a rapid auction was the word I was looking for.
Yes.
It's like an auction speak.
No. Like I can't do an auction because I don't know how auctions work. And what's really interesting is actually a paper that I wrote in college, which is so if you want to just Alt tab back over and then swap the source.
Yeah.
So
Go back to us here.
I brought a paper with me that I wrote in college for a linguistics course, which analyzed the call-outs in a video game. You can just close out of that. The video game Counter-Strike Global Offensive. And so what this is it looked at the call-outs because you've got all these crazy call-outs. You've got choke point. You've got just from that little bit that I threw out there. You had Blizzard. You had Reinhardt. You had Shatter. You had Tactical Visor. You had Double Dragons. Like there were so many little things. And so what this is a 14-page paper that I wrote.
Oh.
And in Counter-Strike Global Offensives, you've got call-outs like Default, Safe, Ninja, Goose, calling back, hold, and then telling how much damage you do, lit, tagged, dinked, goosed. Like, it's almost a different language, genuinely. And so that's one of the coolest things that I find with esports is just even beyond the game is the way that it has impacted our culture. I think, if I throw out, so there's so many jokes, inside jokes and terms that have come to pass because of esports and because of video games in general and live streaming. Like, it's a part of our culture now. We're so interconnected that this has become ingrained in who we are as a culture, as a people, and as a community.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No. I think that's incredible. I want to look at this paper, but I think it's incredible to see, just how all of this has evolved, and like you said, the different pieces of it, the different, like you said, a different language, the term wallbang, and just looking at all these different things that you have in here, and I mean. There was a day where you got yelled at for playing video games too much, and now when you play video games a lot, you can become a student athlete and even a pro and make a living as shout out to my little bro Nico, who was getting paid to go and play in tournaments at comic conventions and whatnot in different places, and he was out in Colorado. So there's some incredible pieces to all of this, from papers being written to student athletes joining esports teams, to amazing headquarters happening at colleges and universities, to professional careers, to knowing that tens of thousands of people will go out there and be a part of these events. I remember the Madden tournament, Madden Nation, that was being held on the big screens in Times Square in New York City. So many things have come from the world of esports, aka electronic sports, with a capital E and a lowercase s. Final point here, can we talk about how we're supposed to spell esports?
Yes. So, and this is actually one of the things that I wanted to touch on, because I think a lot of people spell it different ways, and this is a really, really interesting niche way to go about it. But generally, so esports, I'm sure you've seen it spelled lowercase e hyphen sports, lowercase e capital S sports, and really what it's boiled down to is, as it's gained legitimacy, there's no need to delineate the electronic from the sports. We can mush it all together. If you're talking about the game itself, it's just esports all lowercase. If you're talking about a position like Director of Esports, it's capital E lowercase s. So it's the same as any word. So like baseball, right?
Yeah.
If you're playing baseball, it's all lowercase. If you're a baseball coach and you want to put that as your title, capital B. So it's the same way, and I think that's really one of the ways that the legitimacy of the industry can be delineated and observed, is because it's not this funky thing that requires a whole bunch of modification or differentiation in order to be seen as like a word even. it's just a word. It just is. You know, esports has and always will be a part of our culture. Video games have always been a part of our culture. And so, as the industry continues to grow and succeed, I think that people are just going to get more and more comfortable saying esports. And that little red wavy line underneath it, when I type it out in all my papers and all my little correspondences with everyone, is going to slowly disappear as people start learning more about it. And it's growing. We just keep growing.
Yeah, and it's ever growing here at Marywood University, and I am more than happy to connect with Marywood, and thank you for being a part of today's broadcast. I want to implore you once again to tune in live every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time on YouTube.com, Facebook.com, and MixLR.com, all /WakeUpCallDT. Of course, on Facebook.com /LiveNowDT, as well as on the homepage of WakeUpCallDT.com. You can find us on Stitcher, Spotify, MixLR, TuneIn, YouTube, iTunes and Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Podbean, and more by searching Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. You can also ask Alexa to play the latest episode of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and they would be happy to do that for you. I want to thank all of our Central and Upstate New York partners here, from Cafe Kubal, Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, K9 Camp Dog Daycare, PB&J's Lunchbox, Avicoli's, K9 Campground Dog Boarding, Ma&Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, the Millhouse Market, Honda City of Liverpool, Pizza Man, Chick-fil-A Cicero and Chick-fil-A Clay, Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, and Mother's Cupboard, as well as our proud multimedia marketing partnerships that are exclusive with Lemoyne College, Bryan and Stratton College of Syracuse, and of course your Marywood Pacers. Find this content with the Marywood Pacers and all of our Pacer Pride content by going to youtube.com /WakeUpCallDT, and also by going to the Marywood tab on WakeUpCallDT.com. And of course, the Pacer Pride specials. This is a bonus one. Our Pacer Pride specials air for you every Friday on Wake Up Call exclusively at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time on all of the channels on Facebook, MixLR, and YouTube.com, all /WakeUpCallDT. Of course, you can get more information at MarywoodPacers.com. And as always, I thank you for being a part of the show. So with that being said, we have made history today with esports, with Marywood University, broadcasting live from inside one of the favorite studios I never knew I didn't have until I got here, Marywood Esports Headquarters, and one of our fantastic guests reprising their role, and that is Jacob Adler, the Director of Esports at Marywood University. Myself, Dan Tortora, you can call me DT, and I hope you all have a fantastic day. Facebook at WakeUpCallDT, Twitter at CallDT, Instagram at WakeUpCall_DT, and as I always say to you, God bless, no stress, do your best. Esports are sports. That is how we'll bid you adieu today. Have a fantastic day, and we look forward to talking with you all soon. Be well.